Hello and welcome to Shauns Take, brought to you by the Keystone Sports Network. Here are your hosts, Jim and Shaun.
Hello and welcome to Shauns Take, brought to you by the Keystone Sports Network. I'm Jim Galante. He is Shaun Gold. Shaun, what a crazy week in college football.
Jim, it seems like we say that every single week now. This college football season, I probably say this every year, but it has been one of the most hectic ones we've ever seen. And this year, I think I really mean it because I don't know what in the world is going on anymore.
It is crazy to me. You and I, we were talking about this right before we got on the air here. Literally 2.5 weeks ago, just 2.5 weeks ago, James Franklin was coming off a season a year ago where he made it to the playoff semifinals. He was 3-0 with the number 2 ranked team in the country, playing against Oregon, and double overtime game that close, and here he is 2.5 weeks later without a job.
And only 5 weeks ago, or 6 weeks ago now, we had Texas as the number 1 team in the country as well. Like, there's just so much that has changed this year in college football. And I mean, Clemson, Penn State, Texas, all unranked at one point this season. It's just been a hectic year.
It has been. It has been very crazy, and it will continue to be. And as I know we have many Penn State fans as listeners, what's going to be interesting in the coming weeks, Shaun, I haven't even looked things up, investigated, tried to find this. I just did a quick listing. I've got 15 names that have already been mentioned alongside the Penn State job. 15 without even trying.
Well, Jim, I've seen Nick Saban get mentioned in these, so we're gonna hear every rumor in the book, and it's a exciting job still. I know Penn State's program doesn't look like the shiniest thing in college football right now, but it is a job that's going to be sought after, and they're going to find somebody. But we're going to hear, I think, every single name. You may even hear Bill Belichick's name get thrown in, because why wouldn't we put more rumors out there?
Why not? Well, let me put a couple rumors to rest. First one, I will not be taking the job. I haven't been offered it yet. They haven't called. Whatever my agent has been doing, I am not aware of, but I have no plans on taking the job. Of course, we all have our price, Shaun, so who knows? So, and just to ask you a question, you talked about some of the shine and luster may be off of Penn State right now. And I think that's obviously what has occurred over the last 3 weeks. But that is laid on James Franklin's feet, those last 3 losses. So now I'm not sure there are many jobs in the country that are as good as this one. If you want to, there's a handful. Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, Texas. How many more jobs do you think actually are better than the Penn State job?
There aren't many. And, I think one thing that goes to Penn State's advantage right now as well, no matter what happens, the rest of the season, if they lose out, if they win out, whatever happens, Penn State has shown, and I think they'll continue to show, they're willing to put up the money to build a roster. And in today's day and age in college football, that's what you want if you're a head coach. You want to go win. You need somebody who's going to back you financially with building an NIL roster and a transfer portal roster. And I think Penn State's proven, and they're showing that they're willing to do that if it means the success is going to come. So, I think the hardest thing for head coaches now is, are you going to go to a school that's going to support you financially in this new day and age? And I think Penn State will. So I think, that alone makes it a attractive job. And it is Penn State. It's Happy Valley. It's still a huge college football program. And like you said, there's not many other programs in the country that top, what being the head coach at Penn State can be.
It's a rabid fan base, a stadium that seats 110,000 with an $800 million renovation going on to that. They've shown they're in the Big Ten, so they have the Big Ten money. They've shown in this last season with their player retention say what you will about these players, Drew Aller, Nick Singleton, Katron Allen, Denai Dennis Sutton, they all chose to come back. Now, you'd like to think they came back for the right reasons. They wanted to win a national championship. They wanted to win with this group, but they also wanted a paycheck and got one.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I'll add in, there was a bidding war for what was considered the best defensive coordinator in the country. And Penn State won that bidding war. They've shown they're willing to spend the money, Shaun. So I have no doubt pretty much any coach in the country will take that call from Central PA when it comes. So anyway, with all that said, Shaun, we still have to look forward also. We've got games coming up this week. We have a nice schedule. Let's take a look at some of the games. Let's start in the Southeast Conference. Actually, our first three games are from the Southeast Conference, starting with top 10 LSU. They are at Vanderbilt. And who would have thought this, Shaun? Vanderbilt, a 2.5-point favorite against LSU. I realize some of that is probably the difference of being at home, but still, you certainly wouldn't have seen that coming.
Well, what a story it's been for Vanderbilt this year. They had built momentum last year. It's carried into this year. But Jim, I talked about this way back before the season even started. I'm big on LSU this year. And I understand why Vandy is favored at home in this game. The spread is basically saying, hey, this is an even matchup and we're given home field advantage. But Jim, I got to stick with my guns here. I got to go with LSU. Like I said, I think they're one of these teams that could potentially rival Ohio State for a national championship. And I'm not going to fade away from them now. So give me the Tigers on the road.
You make the point that that spread essentially says this would be a toss-up game on a neutral field. I don't feel that way either, Shaun. I think LSU has the guns. Yes, Vanderbilt, a great story. I'm going to be rooting for them. I can't pick them, though. I am going with LSU. Next up, Shaun, we are staying in the Southeast Conference. This one, a top 10 matchup. You got Ole Miss at Georgia. Georgia at home is a 7.5-point favorite. There it is, Shaun, that famous half point we always talk about.
The famous half point, and unlike the Vandy game, the Vegas is not saying that this is an even matchup. They are saying that the Georgia Bulldogs are clearly a better team in this matchup. I'm going to go against the grain here, though, Jim. I like Ole Miss. I think we can ignore the number 5 Ole Miss versus number 9 Georgia. I don't think Georgia's a number 9 team. They're better than the 9th team in the country here. But I do really like what Ole Miss is doing, and I think Lane Kiffin, he's got to get one of these games to go his way. This could be the one where he shocks the world, pulls off the upset here. So give me Ole Miss to have some magic this weekend. It's not going to be easy. And they don't even have to win this game, but lose by less than a touchdown. But I really do like what Ole Miss is doing, and I'm going to rock with them plus 7.5. That half point, I needed to come in big for me here.
I'm with you on this one also. Georgia is not the dominant Georgia that we saw for several years. They're still really good, but they're not that same Georgia. Ole Miss, I realize it's on the road. I do also like what Lane Kiffin is doing. By the way, that's another name that I've heard brought up with the Penn State job. But again, that half point, more than a touchdown. I could see this not go Ole Miss's way. It could end up a 3-point, 4-point, even a touchdown game for Georgia, and we'll still win with Ole Miss. Give me Ole Miss. Next up, we're staying in the Southeast Conference, Shaun. Tennessee is at Alabama. Tennessee ranked number 11. Alabama has worked their way back up to number 6, and they're actually an 8.5-point favorite in this one, Shaun.
Well, it seems like every game we just keep getting bigger and bigger spreads here, and the market is telling us in this game as well that Bama's the better team here. I'm going to agree with that one. I really like what this Alabama team has turned into, and it almost has the feeling that Alabama's back. The Kalen DeBoer era is going to be a successful one. It was questioned last year, was questioned after week 1's loss to FSU. Now Alabama looks like that dominant Alabama team. And the main reason I'm going with Bama here, home field means a lot, but Ty Simpson has played just incredible football. I love the way he's playing quarterback for them. And Tennessee's pass defense is very beatable. So I think we're going to see a lot of points. It's a very high point total. I think it's in the high 50s right now. That could even get up to 60 by kickoff. So I think Bama's going to put up 30 plus points. And I think they'll, fourth quarter pull away and cover this big spread, in what should be a very competitive game. But again, Ty Simpson, I like what he's doing there. Give me Bama.
We're thinking the same way here. I have Alabama. They've been probably since that Florida State game. Now, I understand those games count, but since then, there's an argument that they've been the most impressive team in the country. They've got a couple big wins on the road, Shaun. Now they're back home. The quarterback, you know how much value I place on the quarterback position. Ty Simpson has been playing really well. I'm going with the Crimson Tide also in this one, even though you have to give up that big 8.5 points. All right, next one up. This one I'm fascinated by. USC is at Notre Dame. USC seems to be back to playing the way you expect that USC team to play. They're putting up points. Notre Dame, the 2 losses early. I haven't looked at the schedule lately, but I think this might be their biggest test for the rest of the season, Shaun. Notre Dame at home, also an 8.5 point favorite.
Well, as you mentioned, this is a huge game for both programs right here. Can USC really show that they're in that upper echelon of college football? And can Notre Dame get this win and then ideally coast through into a playoff berth? Jim, I really like what I'm seeing out of USC, though, and I have not been big on them. I've picked against them a lot of weeks despite their success. I'm becoming a believer in what this USC Trojans team is. And when you look at the offensive metrics, USC is ahead of Notre Dame in pretty much every category. And then on the defensive end, Notre Dame's defense is pretty even with USC. So USC's defense has taken a big step forward this year compared to these other Lincoln Riley USC defenses that we've been accustomed to seeing, giving up 40 plus points per game. So I like the improvements on the defensive side of the football for USC. And I think their offense is quietly becoming one of the best in the country. So give me the Trojans on the road. It's a rivalry game. They always play each other tough. No matter how good or bad one team is, it's always a close game. And I think the Trojans might be for real this year. So give me them plus 8.5.
I'm thinking the same way as you. I've got USC, that 8.5 point spread. Boy, that's just too much, too rich for me. I'm going with the Trojans also in this one. I think on a neutral field, I'm calling this a toss-up game. So I just can't give up that 8.5 points. All right, finally, those Penn State Nittany Lions, they're on the road at Iowa. I don't know what the spread was a week ago in this. I don't know what the spread was before the season started. I'm pretty sure Penn State was a favorite. Right now, without their coach, James Franklin, without their quarterback, Drew Aller, injured and out for the rest of the season, Iowa is now the favorite, 2.5 point favorite, Shaun.
This is perhaps one of the most interesting games of the year because Iowa has played really good football at times. Penn State, obviously, we've talked about, was the number 2 team in the country and has fallen way down in the rankings. I think if Penn State had beaten Northwestern, I was likely going to take Iowa in this game because Penn State should have beaten Northwestern just like they should have beaten UCLA, and they didn't. I now think with all the shakeups that Penn State's happened, we may see a UCLA type of week this week from the Penn State Nittany Lions. I think there's going to be new energy in the building. Things change when you fire your coach. Your interim head coach wants to put as much motivation into your players as possible. Right now, it looks like it's a completely lost season for Penn State. This coaching staff's job now is to motivate these guys to go out and play their hardest for the remainder of the season. Whether you win out, lose out, whatever it is, you want these players to feel a purpose for the rest of the season. And that's hard to do after you've gone from number 2 team in the country to 3 straight losses and you're unranked. I think Penn State's going to have some new energy in this building this week. And I think they're actually a dangerous team to Iowa this week. So give me the Nittany Lions plus 2.5 to have just some new life in them. There's been a lot of changes. They're hitting the reset button. Their record right now is 0-0. and they need to go and try to win the rest of the season. So I have not liked what I've seen from Penn State, but I do think there's going to be some different energy in this game, so I'm taking the Nittany Lions on the road.
They obviously have to play much better than they have in those first 6 games to win this game. They also have the transition at coach, the transition at quarterback. My take on it, this is still an Iowa offense that doesn't put up a lot of points. If this Penn State team is motivated, if it's that fresh start like you talk about, if they consider themselves 0-0, if this is coaches and players fighting for a job now, they can win this game. It falls on the shoulders of backup quarterback Ethan Grunkmeyer. Penn State fans, a chill went up and down their spine when hearing about counting on their backup quarterback at Iowa. We know the last time that happened when Sean Clifford got hurt a few years ago in the middle of that game. It didn't end well. I've gone back and forth on this game multiple times in the last hour, Sean. I'm still going to go with the Nittany Lions. There's still so much talent in that locker room. One of these days it comes out. Let's see if it's to this weekend with this game. All right, Sean, that is it. Fingers crossed. I've got the feeling this one's going to be a good week for us, Sean. I hope it is. Thank you, Sean. Thank you all for joining us. Make sure you come back again next week for Shauns Take.
Keystone Sports Network.